All right, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. My name is Christopher Cabaldo, and I represent Sonoma State University and the surrounding communities in the California State Senate, and I'm joined by the legislative delegation for the region today for the third time this season. This has been a highly unusual cycle for us and for the campus. And I want to say first and foremost thank you to those who've joined us either in person at the two legislative sessions that we held previously with more than 1,000 people, or the many cards, letters, emails, social media comments, suggestions, fears and hopes that have been shared with each one of us and with many of our colleagues in the legislature over the last several months, and also for the continuing collaboration and solution finding and solution designing during a period of an intense challenge and struggle on the campus. So we are here today to do two things, and the first one, which we often will take for granted, but in government and in education and certainly in budgeting, it's rare enough that we want to celebrate how far we have come in these several months, and then we'll want to get back to work again. And so I want to say thank you for joining us as well. Note that we know we're here in the summer, so we weren't expecting 1,000 people to join us today, but also because this is a time to get right to work with the resources that are before us, thanks to the passage of the budget, and we have no time to lose. And so we wanted to return immediately upon signature of the budget and its enactment in order to follow up and make sure that we're setting the table for the future success of the Sonoma State commitment. So I'm joined here today, and we'll hear from each of them in just a moment by my colleague in the State Senate, the President Pro Tem of the California State Senate, and the alumnus of Sonoma State. I represent the campus, but it's in his heart and his soul and his blood and on his wall, in his diploma, Senator Mike McGuire, as well as my co-chair for these sessions, Assemblymember Damon Connolly, who represents this portion of Sonoma County and beyond, the Majority Leader of the California State Assembly, who represents a portion of Sonoma County, Cecilia Aguiar-Curry, and Chris Rogers, another alum who represents the rest of Sonoma County, basically from north of here up the entire coast. And we have been working together collaboratively in the legislature in a variety of domains in order to advance this. So as I say, that I'm a former mayor, and every time we open up a child care clinic or a school or a park, we do insist on taking a moment to celebrate. And this is the closest we get to a ribbon cutting, and a celebration may seem challenging because we still have so much work ahead. But what has occurred as a result of all of the input that we heard and the urgency that we heard, and at its core, the faith in the future of Sonoma State University and the region that we have heard, is one of the most significant budget wins that you could possibly imagine. And there are a lot of reasons for that, but this has been the hardest budget year for the state of California in more than a decade. The toughest budget year, both because of changes in revenue and expenditures, but because, as many of you know, we are grappling with massive threats from the federal government that put at risk health clinics, Medicaid, billions of dollars in cuts to UC and to CSU, and really to clean energy, to everything across the board. And so this was the hardest year you could imagine to try to put Sonoma State University and CSU on a pedestal, rise up and focus the attention of the governor and the legislature on both the needs of the campus, but really the potential of Sonoma State University to play such a powerful role in the future of the region and of California. But because of the voices raised from this region, from the campus, from the community, from faculty and staff, administrators and students, from employers and from so many others, that message was heard. And so the legislature and the governor allocated $45 million for Sonoma State University in one-time dollars to support exactly what folks on the campus asked us in our last two hearings. Can we get the time that we need in order to make local decisions and set some priorities at the local level? Can we position Sonoma State for the future and meet the needs and the demands that students have? Can we also say to the world that Sonoma State is not in a financial death spiral, but instead is getting one of the largest investments by state government in any campus in the history of the California State University, that the state of California is bullish on Sonoma State, and this is the best time you could imagine to come to this campus. The legislature and the governor agreed. The legislature and the governor agreed, and in close cooperation with so many in the campus community. This is not just an action in the first floor of the Capitol with the governor. This really was the voices, the ideas of so many of you and the organizations that represent you, whether it's a labor union, a student association, or others in the region. Those voices were heard. And they were heard in the development of a plan that is also unlike anything that the legislature has ever enacted before. The Sonoma State commitment represents a substantial investment in both providing the campus with the opportunity to breathe for just a short moment and plan and prioritize and assess and reconfigure, reimagine programs for the future, for the programs that students demand, that the local economy demands, and where they can contribute to Sonoma State's success, and also to give Sonoma State a head start in those emerging sectors, industries, and fields in which we know at the state level that there will be a substantial demand into the future. And so the $45 million, and I just want to review it real quick because it is so remarkable, and that includes money for I think in the budget we called it aggressive student recruitment. I will say as a professor, I did not write that language. If you want to recruit non-aggressive students, that's also fine. For academic program stability and expansion, for investing in new academic degrees that meet regional and statewide workforce needs, with specific allocations for expansion of the Sonoma State bachelor's degree in Bachelor of Science degree in nursing, and expanding enrollment and equipment upgrades, facility modernization, and lab expansion to be launched by the spring of 2027. $5 million to expand the first of its kind Sonoma State University Career Center by the spring semester of the 27 academic year. $5 million to establish a data science academic program and major to be launched by fall of 2027. I'll just as an aside, I will say, coming from the world of higher education, data science is one of the highest demand areas that we are seeing on a statewide basis, and this puts Sonoma State right at the front of the line. $2 million to support environmental science academic programs, which will include geology. $8 million for Sonoma State University Athletics to support its NCAA Division II athletics program over the next 3 years. $9 million over 3 years, and this is key, in consultation with faculty, students, and community stakeholders for increased enrollment, for restoring some of the funding reductions, for investing in new academic degrees to address regional and statewide workforce needs. And I'm highlighting this because this is exactly what you all asked for. Everyone asked to restore their specific program. That's totally normal, and it's to be expected because there are very excellent programs here with highly qualified folks, committed, talented people that operate them. But of course, the legislature cannot allocate money for each individual program. We can't make those decisions in Sacramento. Should you have philosophy or should you have psychology? And honestly, as I serve on the Senate Education Committee, you don't want the legislature making those decisions. I don't. As an academic, I don't want the legislature deciding the curriculum for every single institution of higher education in California right now. I tell you, we're having a raging debate at the moment about curriculum around Gaza and anti-Semitism, and we'll work it through, but it's not pretty. The academic senates, students, and community should figure these issues out for themselves based on academic freedom and around what the needs of students and faculty are. And so the budget proposal does not purport to have the legislature earmark every single dollar in these amounts, but instead to make real the promise of campus-based shared governance and collaboration in order to achieve those. And so this $9 million over 3 years is a critical investment in not specific programs, but in the capacity to rebuild trust, to invest in the shared governance decisions in order to strengthen the campus. And then finally, the budget includes also, separate from all of that, $5 million to CSU as a whole to help all the campuses that have issues with respect to declining enrollment. This is a remarkable investment, and I'm saying it out loud and proud here. But I flag it because if we happened to be holding this meeting in any other community in the CSU, they would be asking us, how did Sonoma State get so much money? Right? We're also facing declining enrollment at our campus, and we're in Chico or East Bay or elsewhere. And how did Sonoma State do so well? And the answer is all of you for stepping up and for raising the drum and offering solutions. And it's all of us and others who have been at this work. But I particularly want to acknowledge, salute, and thank Senator McGuire because we all have learned the same lessons over these several months. We all share the same passion and commitment and belief and faith in Sonoma State University. We all worked hard in order to make possible these dollars, whether it's in the budget committees with several of us serve on, or the leadership of the Assembly, in all of the ways that we possibly could. But there is something special about being the president of the Senate. But you have to choose how and when you can make that real. Being president of the Senate does not mean your district gets billions of dollars just by the wave of a hand. It means you have to decide what matters so much in the communities that you represent that you will put everything on the line. And Senator McGuire did that at every step of the way, and fought for something I think it's fair to say no one expected that including the Chancellor's office, that we would see an investment of this level, married with the framing and the guidance, the guidelines that are in the investment in order to assure that it produces the results that we are all hoping to achieve. And this is in the context of one other piece of the budget that I haven't yet mentioned, which was that we erased the 8% cut that the governor had proposed for the California State University as a whole. And this matters for a couple of reasons. Number one is that's permanent. That was 8% every year. 8% was going to go away, and that's $5 to $6 million of resources right here at Sonoma State. So in addition to the $45 million allocated specifically for Sonoma, plus $5 million for low enrollment campuses as a whole, that's another $5 to $6 million every year as a result of eliminating that 8% reduction. And that was a win for all of the CSU campuses. So if anybody's here from those other campuses, you won too. Because Senator McGuire, as he has every single year since he was elected to the Senate, been a stalwart champion for the California State University and for this campus in particular. And so I want to say, again, thank him, but also know that work can happen only by him and by us because of the work that each of you has done and the signals that you sent clearly in our last meeting together and our first meeting together, which was if the legislature will buy us a little bit of time and give us the grease that we need to get our decisions going again, we can take it from here. We can get it done. I've been a member of an academic senate. I've been at other campuses where we would have just fought all the way to the death, blood on the floor, never thinking about what would the next stage look like. And I've been so impressed by the stakeholders and the members of the campus community here who have said, yes, protect my program. Yes, we need to, and we also need to build a Sonoma State that will inspire enrollment, investment, and the kind of support that has always made it one of the America's crown jewels of liberal arts education. And so with that, it's my honor, my pleasure, with great gratitude, to introduce the President Pro Tem of the Senate and the Senator from Sonoma County and beyond, Mike McGuire.
Thank you so much. Well, good afternoon, and I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for welcoming us back to Sonoma State. Really grateful that each and every one of you are here today. Thank you for seeing this through, and thank you for having the commitment to Sonoma State. I'm incredibly grateful to Senator Cabaldon. This has been a team effort like no other. I think where we all started at the beginning of this year, to where we're at now, no one could have thought that we would have seen one of the largest investments in a university within the CSU system that we've seen over the last decade. We would be here today. And I want to be very clear on why this happened. It's teamwork. It's this community that we live in. It is because of the individuals who are to my right. Senator Cabaldon, who has been so incredibly fierce. Senator Connolly, who would never give up. We are so lucky to have the majority leader of the California State Assembly fighting for us each and every day. And I want to say thank you to the Assemblywoman, Ms. McGuire Curry, for her incredible work, and to a proud Seawolf alum, and that's Chris Rogers, who fights for us every day. I think we owe them a debt of gratitude. Can we please give them a round of applause and say thank you? Thank you. And if it's a wildfire, a global pandemic, challenge in our neighborhood, there is no other community in this state that rallies like the North Bay. And just want to say thank you yet again. This community has stepped up to be able to save what is a treasure for all of us. And we also want to be able to acknowledge the past several months have been so challenging. Let's just be candid. This year has been challenging to the greater campus community. For those who proudly teach, who work, or even live here on campus, we know that your trust has been shaken. We know that life plans have been redrawn, and the losses are real, and the disappointment and devastation experienced by hundreds is still fresh and raw. I think it's really important that we set that this afternoon. And again, no one would have expected such a significant investment in a brighter future for Sonoma State when we started all this. And it is because folks continue to show up, continue to rally, and not take no for an answer. We are so incredibly grateful to each and every one of you who stuck with this. And we know that there's a lot of work ahead. Am I right? So today, we are looking forward. We're coming together to be able to look forward. Look forward on a commitment to be able to keep the promise and potential of SSU alive for generations to come. The Sonoma State Commitment Initiative marks a turning point, not just for this campus, but for the entire North Bay region. It starts a new chapter. This university provides life-changing opportunities and brighter economic futures for students across the Golden State. And so many of us know this because we're a product of this amazing institution, or we went to a CSU during our time in college. And I want to reassure folks, this is just the beginning. As the campus returns from the summer break, we know that big decisions are going to need to be made. And the good news is you're coming back to $9 million in discretionary funds about potential restoration of programs, potential restoration of positions, and also looking forward to be able to focus on recruitment for the decades to come, which means long-term stability for this campus. In total, the turnaround plan, this $45 million investment, we know isn't a magic wand. Not all programs will be restored. We also know that tough decisions and hard work still lie ahead. And we're going to have to grow our way out of this problem. But just like we did through this, we're going to grow our way out of this challenge together, every step of the way. Few items would like to be able to cover. SSU is really a cornerstone of culture. It's a cornerstone of community and economic development for the North Bay. Local employers in the private and public sector across Northern California depend on Sonoma State for a highly skilled workforce, and SSU does nothing less than transform lives. And we've all seen it. We see it again and again, no matter what is thrown at us. And the Sonoma State commitment is going to ensure that this mutually beneficial relationship endures and that this university adapts to economic and, we all know, political headwinds. But what we also know is that future generations are going to benefit based off of the hard work that each of you put in this year. One thing that is never going to change is that this campus is powered by amazing people. It's the heart of this campus. And we're going to embark on this next chapter together. We're excited to roll up our sleeves together. And there's even more to the story that we'd like to be able to discuss here today. I want to take a moment to say thank you to Chancellor Garcia. Chancellor Mildred Garcia is the Chancellor of the California State University system. And she recognizes the investment that the legislature and the governor has made. So on top of the $45 million investment secured in this year's budget, the CSU Chancellor's Office is going to double that for one-time funding with another $45 million. So let's break that ground. Well, yeah, so, and I want to also acknowledge Vice Chancellor Lentz, who is here today. He has been instrumental in this, along with the Chancellor. So again, the state legislature, as you heard Mr. Chair so eloquently outline, the state legislature and the governor has invested $45 million in this campus. In addition to that 45, we've also secured another $5 million to be able to assist campuses who need help with enrollment, to be able to do additional recruitment. On top of that $45 million from the legislature, the Chancellor's Office is going to invest an additional $45 million, doubling the Sonoma State commitment, and we'd like to be able to break that down right here and right now. So, absolutely, here we go. So, here's how that would look. So the initial investment that the Chancellor's Office made, and again, I want to say thank you to Millie Garcia for her focus on this. And this has not been easy, right? As tough of a budget is for us, it's incredibly difficult for the system. That $10 million that was originally allocated from the Chancellor's Office, what was then called the Bridge to the Future Plan, that is going to stick. So that $10 million is going to continue to carry forward here at Sonoma State. In addition, the Chancellor's Office is going to commit an additional $5.8 million for enrollment in student service programming, including additional dollars to be able to bolster recruitment. The bread, absolutely. This campus's bread and butter, heart and soul, the faculty, the employees, and the students. And we have to make sure that we get the students back. So the Chancellor is putting in additional dollars to be able to bolster recruitment here in the years to come. In addition, part of that $5.8 million will be invested in what they call teach-out plans. So those students who may be impacted by majors going away, they will be guaranteed funding so that they're going to continue and finish out their major during their tenure here at Sonoma State. There's also another $4.6 million of the 45 that the Chancellor's Office is dedicating that is coming back through the Enrollment Reallocation Fund. So essentially, those campuses within the CSU system that has higher enrollment, a portion of their enrollment, those dollars, come back to university campuses that have lower enrollment. That equals about $4.6 million. Very flexible, and we firmly believe that those dollars should end up in that larger $9 million discretionary fund for reestablishing positions, looking at additional enrollment growth, or majors as well. The final portion of this $45 million is a $25 million one-time line of credit for infrastructure needs. So as we take a look at new majors, new programs, or modernizing current majors, there will be infrastructure needs here on campus. That one-time line of credit will be available to this university to be able to build out and modernize, to be able to teach to where those students need us to be. This has been a partnership all along with each and every one of you in this room. This has been a partnership, and in particular, this amazing group of legislators who never took no for an answer. And also, we need to acknowledge the Chancellor. She is stepping up and stepping out on these matching dollars to double the commitment to Sonoma State University. And we're really grateful that we are here today. I'm going to say what I've said, end it right here, after each and every forum. I know that this university's best days are still ahead. We're going to get it done. Am I right, ladies and gentlemen? So Much more work to come. Much more work to come, and we're going to be with you every step of the way, and we look forward to having a conversation and obviously answering any questions. I just want to say thank you so much, and again, to Mr. Chair, who has been guiding us with our co-chair through this process. Thank you so much for moving us forward, for getting this done, and for your commitment to the students of this storied university.
Thank you very much. Now, I'll turn it over to our co-chair for today's session and all three of these sessions, Assembly Member who also represents Vernon Park, the SSU, and much of the rest of the region, Damon Connolly.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. It is so wonderful to be back at this great campus, and what a privilege it is to represent this university and community in the state legislature. And really to talk about today what can only be described as a really big deal. Not just for this campus, but for the community. And I agree with my colleagues, it really warrants taking a moment to stop and recognize that, but also to recognize this is really a pivot point in the future of Sonoma State. I always like to start by just saying to the students, faculty, staff, community members, thank you once again for showing up today, for showing up and being part of this process throughout. Your presence, along with my amazing colleagues, and Congressmember Thompson, who could not be here today, who has been instrumental and loves this with all of his heart. This is proof that the future of Sonoma State University matters deeply to all of us. As was noted, since our last forum, we were able to make a historic commitment as your legislature to $45 million in the 2025 budget. This is a much-needed lifeline designed to strengthen recruitment, enhance career development, and guide SSU on a pathway toward renewed growth. Let's be clear, this is a major investment, but one that comes with major responsibility and very high expectations, and that's something we are not going to forget. The legislature has entrusted this campus's administration to ensure that every single dollar is used and spent wisely, transparently, and with measurable results. There's no room at this point for any more vague promises, no time for excuses for inaction. Accountability starts right now. Are you with me on that? And if it hasn't started yet, I hope today's forum is the start of a rigorous public and ongoing process to show how this money will translate to actual deliverable outcomes, including higher enrollment, improved graduation rates, stronger career pipelines, and deeper community partnerships. To university and CSU leaders here today, we look forward to today's conversation. As we've done in the past, my colleagues and I will be asking some hard questions, and I suspect our members of the public have some thoughts as well. And in the spirit of transparency and accountability, I hope you'll do the same within your own teams to all the stakeholders. This is not going to be business as usual. The success of this turnaround plan isn't about how quickly the money will be spent, but more importantly, the real impact it will have on student success, faculty support, and the long-term vitality of Sonoma State University. This is a rare opportunity to rebuild trust and show that Sonoma State can rise to meet this moment. So let's get to work together. So before I hand it over to our esteemed majority leader, I am going to note some amazing partners, our elected officials in the room. Maybe we can hold our collective applause till the end. Caitlin Quinn is here from the Petaluma School Board. Ezra Shaban, Santa Rosa Junior College Board of Trustees. An amazing new member to that board, Andre Bailey is here. Mark Stapp, the mayor of Santa Rosa. Carolyn Banuelos, council member of Santa Rosa. Gerard Giudice, mayor of Rohnert Park. Jake McKenzie, retired council member from Rohnert Park. He's been here at every forum. Thank you. With his lovely wife. Eric Lucan, supervisor of Marin County, and Holly Thier, mayor of Tiburon Town Council. If you can join me in, and Jackie Elward, Rohnert Park council member. Let's give him a round of applause. Madam Majority Leader.
I'm here today to thank all of you that have participated. This has been hard, but we have never given up on you. And we want you to remember what our goal was here. We've identified what the problem is, we've found a solution, and now's the time to implement. So I want to keep this short because we have our speakers, but it's so important that we all participate. Right now I'm looking out at you and realizing there's $90 million here that we can help with. How about some smiles on your faces? This is great. I'm so excited for all of you. Though we did not give up, and you didn't give up. There's so much potential here, and when I look around and I see some of my friends from Lake County, who some of the students that went to Lake County Community College have not had the opportunity to come down here to Sonoma State, it upsets me. Or Mendocino. We need to tap into our rural communities and not leave them behind. So there's going to be a lot said. There's going to be a lot of decisions that need to be made. But please have trust in all of us that we are all going to do the best that we can. There's so many decisions. But the fact of the matter is, this is back in your lap. Don't let us down. Thank you. I forgot my favorite superintendent sitting right here. Superintendent Brock Falkenberg. Thank you for being here. Go ahead, Chris. And
I too will be really brief. There was a particular moment in our first forum that really struck me, and for those of you that have been with us throughout all of this, you'll probably remember it. And it was after hours of public testimony from folks. One of the faculty members who was slated to lose their job said, after all of this, I still don't know what to expect. And I just want to recognize and acknowledge that those are still the comments that I'm getting from folks, even after the first $45 billion was announced. That we were very honest in those first couple of hearings that we didn't know that the timing of that fund, particularly as we talked in the second hearing about the impact from budget, that would work for people's lives and that uncertainty was going to work. We know that there have been coaches who have moved on and faculty who have moved on, students who have chosen a different university to go to. And I just want to acknowledge that we hear you. And so what I'm hoping to get out of today's hearing is to really dig into the implementation plan, to dig into the timelines. I hear from folks all the time from the Women and Gender Studies Department wanting to know what this means for the future of their program, what that means for the faculty and for the staff. And so that's really where we sit now, is the first two hearings were about hearing from you and trying to level set what was possible. This hearing is now about implementation and timelines, how we move forward as a community from here, and then we'll continue to do oversight, especially as these presenters come back to the State Budget Committee next year, where we can ask them, how did you hit your metrics? What was the impact? How do we continue to provide to make sure that these funds are being utilized not just the way that the legislators wanted it to be utilized, but the way that the SSU community expected it to be utilized. And so with that, I just want to thank you all so much for being here, for continuing the work.
I forgot some
I cannot read your handwriting.
That's not my handwriting. I know cursive, just as a heads
Big
up.
welcome to Amy Carter. Where are you, Amy?
Right over there.
All right.
There she
Hey,
is.
Superintendent of Schools in Sonoma County.
All right, yeah, Assemblymember Agarakore's other favorite superintendent of schools. Thanks. All right, so we said at the outset we were doing two things today. One was to celebrate what has been a massive collective achievement that we've done, and we do that both because we should, as human beings, we should do that for each other, but also because we're trying to set the stage for that energy, that sense of possibility, and the sense that we can accomplish big things to translate to phase 2, which is implementation. And we're here, this is our third session here on campus doing this. And at the end of this one, I will swear now we will not announce that we are coming back in another 3 weeks. That our job here today, and the reason why Assemblymember Rogers emphasized that we're going to drill into some of the implementation questions, is not to do the implementation here. We are not the Board of Trustees. The state law assigns the Board of Trustees the responsibility to manage the institution. We are not all vice presidents or deans of the campus or chairs of departments or academic senate committee chairs. It isn't our job to do the specific elements. And in fact, as I said earlier, if anything, you definitely don't want elected officials making those decisions. But what our job is today is to assure that this handoff happens correctly, that what you asked us to do, give us the resources and a framework that we can build trust and engagement in order to fight it out ourselves. And by fight it out, I don't just mean the blood, but also fight out, I've got a fantastic philosophy department plan. No, but my women and gender studies plan is even better. But fighting out over the substance and the content. So our job has been to design a process and a funding framework, and today to query all the campus partners to assure that that launch of the Sonoma State commitment is real, and that the shared governance process can take its work. And I say that not to say don't ever write to, at least on my own part, don't write to me about the specific programs, but really we're hoping that you'll take the same energy now that now that the resources are here, both from us, but I think as Senator McGuire said, importantly from the Chancellor's office, that the university itself is also putting its resources on the table to make real the promise of that shared governance and the choices that will have to be made. And so our job here today is to look at implementation from the lens of, is it going to go right? Not are the decisions going to be exactly the decisions that we would make? Certainly not. But are we empowering the campus, giving the campus the capacity and the framework and the guidance in order to move forward again? So with that, we're going to turn to our panel for today. And they're already conveniently all seated, having waited for us for the introductory period. And we're going to ask them to comment on exactly that. How will the next phase proceed? How is it proceeding? And how can we assure the long-term success of the commitment and implementing the components of the initiative, but also building the sense of trust, shared governance, and leadership that's there, in part because the investment by the state and by the Chancellor's office have represented a completely different lens on what Sonoma State's future is. It was at the beginning of the year, I don't know about you, I know in the Capitol building when I'd see my colleagues in the Senate, and I would say, I'm going to a hearing at Sonoma State, and they would look at me kind of like you look at somebody if you heard that they were getting divorced, or maybe that they lost their family pet. Like, oh, great, good for you. It felt as though we were all in a spiral down, and that people didn't believe in the future. But $45 million from both the Chancellor's office and the legislature and the governor is a clear signal, not just that we believe in Sonoma State, but that Sonoma State itself represents the future of all of public higher education in California, particularly in Northern California, where so many of these challenges are present. that we're banking on Sonoma State not just to figure it out, but to lead the way for the entire California State University, to show what a university can be and how it can deliver and how it can lift itself in, but in this way. So that's our hope for this panel, to begin this process, and as the Assembly Majority Leader said, to be able to unleash and turn it over to the folks who should be having these conversations and making the decisions here at the campus level. So let's begin with the panel. We have Emily Kucher, the interim president here at Sonoma State University. I'll introduce the whole panel first. Ajay Gelawat, who's the professor of interdisciplinary studies, theater and film at SSU. He's chair of the academic senate here and also a member of the executive board of the California Faculty Association. Caroline Banuelos, who we've already introduced otherwise, but in her other hat is here as the SSU Community Partnerships Coordinator and the CSU Employee Union Representative. Martha Schott, the Faculty Athletics Representative and Professor and Department Chair of SSU Mathematics and Statistics. Vanessa Mendoza, Associated Students Vice President of External Affairs here at SSU. So we've asked each of them to make some brief opening remarks, and then we'll have some Q&A with the panel, beginning first with President Kucher. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I want to begin not by talking about implementation, but I want to begin by saying something that really does comes from my heart, and that is we are extraordinarily lucky, extraordinarily fortunate, blessed, whatever you want to call it, to have these individuals here as our elected officials here in the North Bay. I don't know about you, but I get up in the morning and I read the headlines in higher education magazines. And those headlines these days are all about government officials and elected officials denigrating, undercutting, in some cases destroying higher education. That's going on all around the country. But you five, and Andrew, I'll include you in this too because you're a policy consultant. You five have shown that there's another way. You five get it. You five know that Sonoma State has to be here because of what it does in transforming the lives of our individuals, of transforming the lives of students, but also because it is absolutely indispensable, and Senator McGuire, you're right, to the culture and to the economy of Sonoma County and beyond. And I hope we are all very grateful, truly, to these people. They are so unusual in today's world to have that kind of commitment. And as an academic for the last 40 plus years, I have never been around people who are so dedicated to higher education. And I want to, well, I just have to say thank you. We all do. We thank you for the commitment. We thank you for the confidence. We thank you for the belief that Sonoma State is not only here to stay, but Sonoma State is at the beginning of another great journey, and that Sonoma State will continue to bring in wonderful students who will serve this community, this state, and this nation, and that we will continue to offer programs that help students think, help students understand about the world, and help students move from their first day on campus to a first job, a career that will change their lives. Thank you for that kind of belief and confidence in us. We see these funds as an investment that enables us to move on quickly, enables us to move on helping students, not just those who are here now, but those students who will be here in the future. Our challenges continue, but we aren't alone in those challenges. You're here with us. and as we share services with sister CSU campuses, as we continue to recruit and market to students, as we strive to make SSU a unique choice for people in this region and beyond, we have you to thank for it. And I want you to know how much I personally am moved and grateful, but also how grateful this whole group is. Now I'm going to go through one by one the different allocations you all have made for us, let you know where we are, which is not very far along because, as you pointed out, the key people who need to be involved in the decision-making are faculty and students who, by and large, have not been here this summer. So we're at the beginning stages of a lot of this, but we've got plans mapped out and take very seriously. I think it was you, Assemblyman Connolly, who said we would use these funds wisely, transparently, and with accountability. So let's begin. $16 million for nursing and health care. Yeah. That is tremendous. And we have been able to begin to do some work. We've spent some time, when I say we, some of the nursing faculty, deans, and I have been talking with members of the medical community here to find out what it is that they really want and really need in the medical community, because that, we all agree, is what needs to guide us, what is needed. So we've got a lot of good information that our faculty can now take back, and they can work with one another and can develop the best nursing program in the state of California, though I'm not sure we don't have it already. I think we do. We're just going to have it for more people. Our nursing program is great, and this money, what you need to know is, and I'm sorry to say anything that's a little bit negative, but our nursing facilities are the worst. They really are. And our faculty, and even more our students, deserve better. And we have spent time over the last month looking at places where we can go to ensure that our students and our faculty will have the best nursing facilities to learn in around here. And that's important, not just for them, it's important for each of us who may be a patient at another time, because in the facilities, the best facilities, they will truly learn how to be the best nurses, and we're really very grateful for that. Still more to come, a lot more talks, a lot more work, but I guarantee you it's going to happen, and we have some very committed nursing faculty. We have very committed people in the community who will make sure that that happens. Okay, $5 million for expansion of the Sonoma State University Career Center by the spring semester of the 2027 academic year. I won't be here. I'm leaving in January, so it's okay for me to commit for the next president. We'll beat that deadline, right? We need to build that deadline. We beat that deadline. We have wonderful people in our student affairs and academic affairs area who were so excited to find out we had this additional funding for an initiative we had started, and they have expanded their reach and have developed plans that will be vetted across the fall semester with faculty and with students and with staff to make sure we're all on board to be leaders in the CSU and in California for showing students their pathway from the day they enter college to the time they get their first job as a graduate. They know how to go from one to the other. This funding allows us to develop, again, spaces that we don't currently have, where students can use AI, where students can use media in order to see themselves being interviewed, to learn how to, what we hear a lot of students don't know when they first come out, not only how to be interviewed, but how to talk with other people about what they're doing, Thanks to you, we will have outstanding facilities for that. Third, $5 million for what you all identified as we have. One of the most important areas for us to develop for our region, and that is data science. I don't know if you know how bureaucratic it is to develop new degree programs, but we've got one piece of the bureaucracy taken care of. We've gotten permission through the Board of Trustees to develop a program. You may know, and certainly Senator Cabaldon, you know, that the development of degree programs is the faculty's prerogative. We have some faculty now, one faculty member in particular from the math program, who's been working on developing a data science program. As we move into the fall semester, she will be working with others to ensure, from the perspective of employers, that the program is what they need and that it is truly a program that not only looks at where we need to be now, but where we ought to be 3 to 5 to 10 years from now. We'll be asking what firms are the best corporate partners? What are the minimum infrastructure requirements? Where can we define ourselves? What is our niche? This is what our faculty will be working on this fall. We have $2 million to support something that is very dear to the heart of all of us in this region. It's to support environmental science for this beautiful, beautiful place. We have two departments, one department and another group of faculty who have been reassigned to that department. It used to be called the Geography, Environment, and Planning Program, GEP for short, and I always had to ask what GEP stood for. They've taken the name, the Environmental Science Department. Now we know what they stand for, right? And they will be working together with community partners, and there are a lot of them out there we heard from in the fall, to advise and become a pathway for students. Timeline for that, by the way, is fall 2026. Next, the one that we all have heard so much about and mourned so greatly for, and that is athletics. We've received $8 million for Sonoma State University athletics to support its NCAA Division II athletics program over 3 years. That language was very clear, to support Division II over 3 years. But we must be sure that whatever we do is sustainable. We do not want to bring athletes in here and then have to once again do the horrible thing that we had to do this year, tell students their teams are no longer going to be on campus. So in order to see what Sonoma State can do that will be sustainable, there is a committee that is being led for our Vice President for Student Affairs, a big sports fan, Gerald Jones. We have an external consultant and a task force that includes 3 students, including 1 former athlete, 2 SSU staff, Martha Schott, who's here today, who was the former faculty rep to athletics, 2 community members, a former coach. They have a timeline of the fall so that by December we'll have a white paper report on what can be sustainable athletics at Sonoma State. And finally, $9 million over 3 years in consultation with faculty, students, and community stakeholders for increased enrollment, restoring some funding reductions, and investing in new academic degrees to address the regional and statewide workforce needs. Some of this work is being done right now. The area of increased enrollment we want to come out with a bang in a few weeks. If we were here a few weeks later, I could tell you exactly what that bang would sound like. But we intend to we have a group developing a program, a package for incoming students that the only thing they can say and their parents can say is, wow, that's a real commitment to SSU. And we will be marketing that hard over the next month so that the class coming in the fall of 26 will be the best one this university has seen in a while. So part of that funding will be going to recruitment, because recruitment and enrollment is what helps us make this investment a long-term investment, correct? We've had some restoration of the faculty who were laid off, both tenure-track faculty and lecturers. Our university budget committee said the very first priority was to reassign tenure-track faculty. And we've had 7 tenure-track faculty reassigned to programs where there was work to do. In other words, there were courses with enrollment and programs that were moving forward. And we're so happy we have been able to make those reassignments. We have also reassigned or brought back some of the lecturers who we thought initially would lose their jobs. So that's beginning there. And over the last couple of years, our academic affairs has been looking at, and what they've been looking at, we'll be talking with the community about, on new academic programs that meet the regional and statewide workforce needs. So some work has begun, but the real meat of it, the real roll up your sleeves and get it done, will be starting very quickly. So here's just a very quick timeline. End of August, we can begin shared governance on all line items as the students and faculty return. September, we will have meetings, initial meetings, and begin financial planning for all line items. And by the way, these monies are not commingled with the rest of the budget. We will be able to clearly show where the money goes. In October, we will publicize 3 to 5 goals and deliverables for each line item and planning for discretionary funds. November, we'll begin reporting out on planning and progress, both to our campus and our larger community, and to our elected officials. And December 2025 into January 2026, we'll be handing this off to new leadership for continued stewardship of funding and turnaround to Sonoma State 2.0. So I hope that gives you an idea of where we're going.
All right, next we'll hear from Professor Gello, and we'll turn it back to the panel once we've heard from all of your panel. So welcome, Professor.
Great, thank you. Thanks for coming here. And on behalf of all the faculty at Sonoma State and all of our partners in the greater community, our students, our staff, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart, from our collective hearts, for this wonderful, unprecedented gift that you have worked so hard, so tirelessly on our behalf to give us. So thank you. We really appreciate that. However, like yourselves, like our esteemed colleagues, and when I say we, I don't mean just the people up here. I mean all of you, right? That's why you're here. That's why we're here. We still have concerns. And some of those concerns, for instance, include information on disbursement timelines and oversight processes on the use of funds. More criteria is needed in the SSU commitment with regard to efficacy and accountability. Similarly, we would ask about the intentions and the processes of this new committee that the budget bill says will provide recommendations on how to spend the discretionary funding in the SSU commitment. I would like to note, relatedly, that something that's been mentioned in passing, including by our interim president, this UBAC, the University Budget Advisory Committee, that is not representative. And I think you all know that already. I think that's why that provision was included in the commitment, for which we're grateful. But I just want to make that very clear, because I think a lot of times, including just now, it's passed off erroneously as if it represents faculty, right, or as if it represents shared governance. It does not. UBAC is basically a mouthpiece for the administration. They make decisions beforehand and simply announce them as fait accompli to faculty. That's not shared governance. And if they think that's shared governance, then I don't know what dictionary they're using. Shared governance is when you have meaningful input, when you have a chance to actually be an equal partner at the table. So I really hope that that new committee that's referenced in the commitment will actually have that kind of power. Something else I unfortunately need to point out, since some of these things that seem so obvious to, I think, the larger community, to faculty, but nevertheless don't seem to make it to the ears of our administration. There's a reason why this past spring 89% of faculty voted no confidence in this interim president. There's a good reason for that. There's a complete lack of transparency. A complete lack of transparency. And they're seemingly oblivious to the realities that face SSU, its students, its faculty, its staff, the larger community that relies upon this wonderful institution. I don't know what planet sometimes the administrators are on, because the response they give seems to really not be aware of what's happening on Earth. And
Professor,
I'll just give you
just a moment. For those of you who are alumni of the prior two hearings, you'll know exactly what I'm going to say, which is that this isn't a rally or a call and response session, and so we want to respect everybody's time, make sure we get a chance in the public comment period for everyone to be heard. And to that end, we ask that folks hold back from applause or boos or other demonstrations. Just allow the folks to speak their own words and their truth. So, Professor, please continue.
Thank you. A case in point of the apparently oblivious nature of this administration would be the interim president's email on June 25th following the announcement of the original SSU commitment, for which we are so grateful. I think I speak on behalf of the majority of our faculty and our community to say I was amazed when I saw the announcement of the commitment. I thought, wow, okay, this is really a great step forward. Now maybe we can actually save all those faculty that have been laid off, save all those departments that have been shuttered. On June 25th, we get this email from the interim president. Again, I don't know. I don't know if everyone's read it. I know a lot of my colleagues have, and they were as bewildered, as perplexed as I was, because the content of that email seems to be oblivious to the announcement of the money, and not only the $45 million commitment, but also to, as many of you just noted, the reduction in the cuts. But that email seems to continue to double down on this bridge to nowhere, right, oblivious to the new reality, which is that we don't have that budget problem that we started with, which again was not something that we initiated. So we're grateful for the work that you've done, but I think what's necessary is meaningful collaboration, meaningful consultation with stakeholders who aren't already planning to leave, right? People who are going to be invested in this university and the people who work here, the people in the larger community who rely on all of the talent that we have here. And related to that, I would like to say, on behalf not only of CFA, but on behalf of all faculty, is we are advocating today for restoring jobs immediately. And that can be done from all the monies that have been freed up. We are advocating for restoring athletics. And we're really pressing administration to further explain why is it that they've cut IRA funding for athletics when the legislature has already committed to athletics. This is another example of what I'm talking about. If you've committed, which is wonderful, right? We value our student athletes. We value our NCAA 2 program. Why is that still on suspension? That bewilders us. We instead, or actually we respectfully ask, the SSU commitment will maintain the liberal arts mission of Sonoma State University. That's what this university is. That's the history of this university. Many of the programs that have been cut are under that umbrella of liberal arts, right? Whether they be art history, economics, geology, theater arts, philosophy, women and gender studies, all of those. And we would ask respectfully that since the liberal arts is not mentioned currently in the commitment, even though other priorities are, that be addressed and that be something that you commit to as well. We also, just to conclude, we recommend making discontinued programs, the 6 that I just mentioned, art history, economics, geology, philosophy, theater arts, and women and gender studies. We suggest that you make those, shift those to a suspension status, because doing so, rather than maintaining them as discontinued, would align with EPC, our Educational Policy Committee's recommendations, which were endorsed by the Senate, and they would open the door to bringing those programs back to our campus ASAP. So that's a particular actual step that can be implemented and that would actually help. And I'll just conclude by saying that the administration, they need to take speedy, specific action to show good faith. And they need to show recognition that the budget has actually increased thanks to the hard, tireless work of our state legislators. Rather than doubling down on their flawed bridge to nowhere, the administration needs us, the faculty, right, to help them to figure out how to start undoing the damage they've done. I was just struck by the statement that the interim president just made in her remarks about the horrible thing we had to do this year. You didn't have to do that, right? You didn't have to do that. And now we're the ones, right, along with our partners, and I take great pride in using that term, our partners in the State Assembly and Legislature, to undo the damage, the horrible things you've done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Thank you. We're next going to hear, and as we proceed, we've invited the panel to share your perspectives about the commitment and the next steps forward. I want to ask you to, we will not have the time for everyone to comment on each other's comments in this conversation, so we want to make sure we get some initial comments from the stakeholders in the campus. A few of you ask some questions, and then, as usual, our principal purpose here is to hear from public comments, and so we want to make sure that we're getting there expeditiously. So, Caroline Benuelos, thank you so much for joining us, and we welcome your comments.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, college community, members, elected officials, all of you, and of course our esteemed legislators. My name is Caroline Benuelos. I am the Community Partnership Coordinator in the Center for Community Engagement here at Sonoma State, and I'm also a very proud member of the CSU Employees Union. I would like to thank you for allowing me to speak today and share my perspective on our collective efforts here at Sonoma State. I would also like to thank you for your leading efforts to secure the revenue in the California budget and to turn things around and ensure that the CSU system as a whole is stable. I have been an employee here at Sonoma State for 7 years. I'm also an alum, which many of our staff are. As the Community Partnership Coordinator, I work to bring together classroom, campus, and community. Specifically, I help faculty to identify appropriate community partners to work with students on service learning projects, internships, and volunteer opportunities. I also promote civic engagement among students, as well as oversee risk management between our community partners and our students. My deep ties with our campus and the community empower me to know how important a healthy and thriving SSU is to our region. I see a great opportunity in making sure that represented staff are at the table from the development implementation of the Sonoma State Commitment Initiative. Without engaging the campus and greater community, we will not have success and we will not turn our campus back into the thriving center of education and innovation that it should be, in my view. As Sonoma State Commitment Initiative is implemented, I believe we all should be considering and focusing on the following key themes. First of all, enhanced promotion of SSU. SSU and our surrounding areas should be a dream for students looking to pursue higher education. We need to implement a vision that not only expands education courses that align with job needs and student demand, but also enhance recruitment efforts to show students that SSU is not only available to them, but is truly a place where they can thrive and grow into successful adults. Secondly, strengthening support for staff and faculty. A strong university starts with an investment of its people. Our staff and faculty are the engine of this university, which I think one of you actually said, from ensuring smooth operations and IT infrastructure to helping students build the skills for their desired career path. We are critical to the success of the university. As a result, we need to be supported and engaged in major initiatives that will determine the future of this institution. Unfortunately, this has not occurred to date, but this initiative provides an opportunity for us to change course. More broadly, CSU needs to support us, the employees, and implement their contractual obligations. The legislature did a phenomenal job in protecting CSU's budget and providing enhanced resources to the CSU. Despite that, CSU has notified the CSU Employees Union that they will be opening our contract and not fully implementing the bargain merit salary steps that we have been fighting to attain for years. This not only impacts trust, but makes it difficult for our workforce to maintain their long-term commitment to the university and the students that we love to support. Thirdly, strengthen community ties. At the forums earlier this year, we heard from various community leaders how important SSU is to Sonoma County and this region. We need to further build those partnerships to tell the story of SSU. Sonoma State is a critical partner in the community, and this region is a critical partner to SSU. We need to identify strategies to bring the region and its leaders together with SSU. This will support us in attracting more students and ensuring students know that they have a future in Sonoma County after they graduate with the unique skills that SSU will help them develop. Successful execution of this initiative is critical. The role of the legislature, and specifically you all, leaders here today, is not only providing the resources for this effort, but also the oversight. Wisely, as you all know, the legislature required each enrollment-challenged campus to develop turnaround plans, submit them to the chancellor, and have a full report sent to the legislature. It's all about accountability. This type of collaboration, engagement, and oversight is needed to ensure that we are making progress to increase enrollment and protect these critical CSU campuses. So in closing, I would like to express my deep gratitude to our North Bay legislators who heard the outrage from the campus community and the greater community and took action, quick action, to address the challenges that we are facing and continue to face. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Professor Schott?
Good afternoon. I want to begin by echoing the gratitude that my colleagues have expressed for your continued engagement with our campus during a very difficult year. In previous meetings with our campus, you heard many heartfelt and powerful testimonials speaking to the value of Sonoma Seawolf athletics, and you responded with the designation of $8 million to support an athletics program as part of the Sonoma State commitment. Thank you for providing us with this help and with this hope. Because the value of athletics has been well established already, I want to focus my comments today on what's happened since the SSU commitment was made as it relates to athletics, where we stand now, and what an exploration of a continued athletics program at Sonoma State might look like in the coming months. The day after the news about the state's $45 million commitment to Sonoma State, our campus community received an email from Interim President Couture. In this message, she emphasized the one-time nature of these funds and said she could not reasonably anticipate the restoration of programs or positions that require ongoing funds. As such, she asserted that NCAA athletics would not be reinstated for the 2025-26 academic year. In this message, she framed the $8 million for athletics as being used to explore institutional athletics opportunities over the next 3 years, which to me felt markedly different than the language used in what we saw in the press, which was that those funds would be used to support our NCAA Division II athletics program over the next 3 years. As President Couture mentioned, there's a working group that will be established to explore these long-term funding solutions for SSU athletics. That group is being formed somewhat as we speak. Its first meeting will be on Monday, August 25th, and will meet weekly thereafter. As President Couture mentioned, the composition of this group is 14 individuals total, including several students, representatives from Seawolf Athletics, current academic faculty, community members, and an external consultant. She also suggested that a recommendation from the group would be due to the university president no later than January 2026, but I've heard updated information that maybe now that's end of December. On June 30th, only a few days after this email went out, the contracts of all of our remaining athletics administrators, staff, and coaching faculty were either not renewed or terminated. Now that it's August 11th, we have students moving back to campus, classes are starting next week. What we will not have this year are Welcome Week soccer games or pep rallies run by the athletics department. Division II institutions must sponsor at least 10 sports, 4 for men and 6 for women. There are additional requirements on how many sports should be sponsored, but this year we are sponsoring 0. And so this puts us in a position where we're not meeting the minimum qualifications to be an NCAA Division II institution. Also, membership dues to the NCAA are to be paid by September 1st of each year, and an institution's membership will be canceled if it fails to pay its dues for 1 year. The NCAA bylaws indicate that if an institution does not meet its division's criteria for membership, the institution may be placed in a restricted membership category for a minimum of 1 year. During this time frame, the NCAA would likely want to see a specific and actionable plan for regaining compliance within the year. If the member institution does not meet its division's criteria for membership at the end of the restricted membership period, the member will forfeit immediately its membership in the association. So all of this is to say that the timing of further decisions about our athletics program is really critical. And so I hope that the athletics task force is able to put forward a recommendation earlier than end of December, and one that has campus and community support. So moving forward, here are some of the items that I anticipate that the athletics task force, in conjunction with our university community, will want to consider in its dialogue. So primarily, we want to think about a level of investment for an athletics program that's feasible for our institution as we try to recover from financial hardship and lower enrollment. Now, a key aspect of this is how our student fees are structured. Earlier, I spoke about an email that President Couture sent to the campus in June. We received a separate message in early July from President Couture indicating that she had approved a proposal to redirect funding that athletics would typically receive from our campus's instructionally related activities fee for the 25-26 academic year. Those funds are to be redistributed to 7 programs as well as the annual funded program pool. And just for a little bit of context, the cost required to run our Division II program was about $6 million total. About $2.3 million of that came from those IRA funds. So that's nearly 40% of the athletics operating budget. This reallocation puts our student body in a tough position for the coming year. So if as a campus we elect to reinstate athletics, we'll need to ask our students to either further increase their fees, which are already the 4th highest in the CSU system, or we'll need to ask them to vote to divert funds away from these 7 other also very valuable programs. There are a couple of other aspects that the committee will want to consider, but I know my time is limited today, so I'll just wrap up with a few of the pieces that I believe are important for accountability to our university community. And that's that I would suggest our athletics task force make regular reports to the cabinet, Associated Students, Academic Senate, and Staff Council. Also making a summary of the group's meeting notes available to the campus community and including a way to provide feedback to the committee through its work. When a group of finalists for our next president has been selected, provide each one of those candidates with the group's meeting summaries. And have an executive summary ready to go that first week that our new president comes to the campus. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you so much. And to close out our panel, Vanessa Mendoza on behalf of the Associated Students. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vanessa Mendoza. I am the Vice President of External Affairs for Associated Students. I would like to take a moment and thank the legislators and everyone here who has taken time out of their busy schedules to be here today and to advocate for the future of Sonoma State. Moving forward with the money that we have been granted, Associated Students is excited to engage with all of you on these decisions, and we encourage to have an open dialogue between leadership on campus and the students as stakeholders in these decisions. So much of the dialogue among students last semester was a desire to understand what the future is going to look like, which is critical to the bridge to the future and how we are moving forward as a new university. This further underscores how making an effort to engage students and communities with forums like these that encourage discussion and move us forward together. What makes Sonoma State so appealing is the personal experience and connections you get with faculty here. And our loss of identity from a liberal arts college to a more STEM-focused campus cuts accessibility to students with an interest in liberal arts, as it is primarily something only found in private schools. Moving forward, how do we amplify the things that we have that make us special as a means to recruit and connect with students? And how do we maintain a conversation with those impacted by the cuts and keeping those communities engaged and involved on campus? Wrapping up, Sonoma State at its heart has a connection of community, and we are all here for the same reasons. The success of students and people who belong to it. I hope we can all work together and strengthen those connections and honor our shared values to build a better future that every Seawolf can be proud of. Thank you.
Extremely succinct, Vice President Mendoza. Thank you so much for your comments. It's what it's all about, and very much appreciate your participation today. But your reminder that the issue that we're trying to get at now is how do we set up the consultation and the shared governance for success in order to deliver. Very much appreciate it. And thank you to the whole panel. The fire, the passion, the creativity, the commitment, and the faith in the future are all, as they have been for the last 2 sessions that we've convened here, fully on display. So let's turn it to members of the legislative panel for questions. Mr. Rogers?
So first of all, I want to thank everybody for your comments. I want to start with what I think is one of the kind of easier but important questions, and I'm going to quote Interim President. I'm going to quote you to you. Just in your presentation, you mentioned just how bureaucratic it is to develop new programs, and yet I hear from the faculty representative a request that has come sort of repeatedly for the programs to be moved into a suspension status, not into an eliminated status. Given that you yourself acknowledge how difficult it is to start a new program, why would the university move in the direction of elimination, especially with the UBAC and this new process unfolding, as opposed to suspension?
We went ahead and did a few of them, changed several of them to suspension. I don't have the list in front of me of which ones we moved. We didn't move others to suspension because it didn't seem like there was a chance in those programs could come back. that's something that certainly we can consider some more. And thank you for quoting my words at me. I love it when that happens. Not.
So to dig in a little bit,
Yeah.
The programs that you've moved to suspension
Yes.
are the ones that you anticipate could potentially come back.
Yes.
The ones that you have not, the public should generally assume means that they are not coming back.
Not in the foreseeable future.
And where can they find that list of which programs have been suspended versus eliminated?
I don't know that it's on our website yet, but it will be.
Do you have a timeline for that?
Probably the next 2 weeks.
Okay. And then on a related, directly into this, for folks, I mentioned women and gender studies as well as the other departments, whether it's art history, economics, geology, philosophy, theater, dance, WGS. What is the timeline for folks who are currently in those departments, students and faculty and staff, to understand whether or not they will have a department?
They do not have a department. The students who were in those degree programs are part of a teach out right now, and in some cases that teach out goes on for 1 year, and in some cases it goes on for 2 years. But unless a department has been brought back, that department does not exist, and unless a faculty member has received notice that an offer to be reinstated, they will not be teaching this year.
So the process for potentially reinstating programs, what is the timeline for that process?
My understanding, and I haven't been through this on this campus, as provost I was on another campus, what that would entail is that a program would go through an abbreviated curriculum process. It would be a Senate process. It's not an administrative process. Go through a Senate process and would be voted back. But we'd have to check on the details. Probably Ajay knows better than I do what the process is.
And I want to delineate really fast. I don't mean the process in terms once you've made a decision, how long that'll move forward and how long the academic side. For the group, previously the UBAC, that is making determinations about the possible restoration of programs, what is the timeline for those recommendations?
Okay. UBAC put together a recommendation that had, I think, 8 different proposals that it recommended for funding. Out of that, the first priority, actually I asked for a prioritized list. They gave me a list with one priority, and that was to restore, or not restore, but to move faculty to different programs and restore their contract, which we have done some of as money became available. Of the other proposals that were recommended for funding, should funding occur, there were 2 degree programs in the list. One was geology and one was women and gender studies. And then there were some other smaller programs that were recommended. When I met with UBAC to hear their explanation of why they hadn't given me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they made a very good case that one is the one that they were most adamant about, and of the others, it would really depend upon how much money came back to the university, and that if we did get funding that we could use to fund something UBAC recommended. Well, I said, do you want me to do it? And they said, that's fine, but we're also around for consultation if you want to have consultation. Or some of them would be around, particularly among the faculty. They said that the staff would be here. And there were 4 faculty, as I recall, on the committee, and each of them said they'd be around if I wanted to talk. But given the nature of the funding that we have, which is one-time funding. We haven't gotten into doing any of the others yet. We'll have to go back, because really the question was based on, should ongoing funding come back to the university? What should we fund first?
So I want to push back a little.
Sure.
You have the 45 and then the 45, that's one-time funding.
Right.
But you also have the 8% cut that was restored, which is not one-time funding.
Correct.
So you have an additional $5 to $6 million for SSU that was not anticipated at the beginning of the year, for all CSUs, not just SSU.
Right.
So from the public's understanding, they were told there'd be a recommendation about possible restoration for programs. They made that recommendation. They were told that would occur if there was permanent funding that came back. There is permanent funding that came back. So at what point will they know whether or not the recommendation is moving forward for restoration?
It's something that we need to look at very carefully, because we used part of that funding to hire the seven faculty who came back, and to hire some lecturers, although we can do lecturers generally on one-time funding. We haven't spent all of the money that came back to us, because I know we say 8%, but we actually got about 5%. The other is in potentially a loan that needs to be paid back that would come to us. So we're not touching that, because we don't see that. But out of the money that's left, we're holding on to some because there is, we know that there is going to be a cut in the following year, and we're holding on to that money so that we have money to cover the cut.
But you don't know that there will be a cut in the following year.
Yes, we do. Well,
You knew you had a cut this year, and you didn't get a cut, right? So
yes, we did.
the legislature restored the proposed cut. And you have now the one-time funding, and I get why you don't want to use the one-time funding. I'm just looking for a timeline for folks who are concerned that the programs are not going to come back, that the faculty are going to leave, which many of them have. The program's gone, the faculty are gone. But there's a process that you have committed to. What's the timeline?
The timeline is when everybody gets back, I will sit down with you back, because this is a different situation. And there is, as our faculty senate president said, I have heard this before, that there are some people in the faculty who don't think that the UBAC, which has been around, I think, for about 10 years, is a representative process. So we may need to look at that and think about that as well. But we'll talk with them, and we will look at what can be done to make something sustainable in the long run. That could take a while. We have one program that I know is looking at ways in which they can make what they have sustainable, and your $2 million towards going toward environmental studies helps with that. Of course, once again, I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful for one-time dollars. Oh my God, they make a huge difference to us. But there's certain things we can do with one-time dollars, and there are other things that we can't. So this one program in environmental studies is working with geology, who is working with another group outside, and if it works, it will be a wonderful program. But we have to see if the funding is going to be there longer term. So that is one of the two programs. We would need to talk with Women and Gender Studies to find out if there are ways in which, if it were brought back, it could be made sustainable. And sustainable means having the enrollment in order for it to continue. We can't bring back programs that are not sustainable.
So I know my colleague will dig in on that a little bit. Really fast on athletics. I just want to make it really clear, because there has been some ambiguity, whether it's the chancellor's office or your office. The language is very clear, NCAA to athletics.
Yes.
And I appreciated Martha walking through what those requirements are and what the timeline is. I know my colleagues will agree on that that's what the intent is, not to find a different path for athletics or other opportunities for folks to find athletics. That is not NCAA 2. So I just want to make that really clear.
It is, and when I spoke, I said to, and if it's okay, Dr. Schott is not aware of this, but I think she should be, and you'd probably want to be aware as well, and that is that we paid the dues to be on suspension for the year.
Great. That was going to be one of the recommendations. But I also understand that SSU no longer has an athletics director.
No, we don't have athletics this year.
Yeah. And so just as a suggestion, as this group is working through the possibility of bringing back athletics, and I understand it won't be this year, that would, to me, seem to be a very critical signal to the community on having that position empty makes it harder to restore athletics. Having that position full gives people hope.
Thank you.
Please, at least panelists don't lead the applause. We are, it's already 10 to 4, and we do need to hear from members of the public as well. So I want to keep on our time schedule and keep some decorum and discipline. Let's turn to Co-Chair Assemblymember Connolly. I know has some follow-up questions as well.
No, appreciate it. I want to also take a crack at athletics. And Professor Schott, I think you really summed it up about the potential without athletics for a loss of campus spirit, student engagement, recruitment opportunities. You summed it up when you said the timing of additional decision-making is going to be critical. Could you kind of, and I may have missed it, the exact, because right now we don't have athletics as students come back next week, but where do we need to be by when to fulfill the $8 million over 3 years to reinstate?
Yeah, I'll take a crack at that. So ideally, we'll be in communication with the NCAA about our intentions as soon as we know them, which I guess I'll just leave it at that, and have that well-defined plan, actionable plan for steps to regain compliance. So in my opinion, that plan would look like a timeline for hiring of an athletics director, all of the other necessary administrators for compliance of the program, hiring back coaches, having a recruitment plan, as well as designated funds that we have in order to support the reality of that timeline.
Okay. And interim president, it sounds like you today are now on the record. The understanding is that there will be reinstatement of Division II athletics on Sonoma State campus?
No, I didn't say that. What I want you to hear is that if this group finds a way to make it sustainable, then, well, actually, that will be the next president's decision when they come in January. And in most cases, I don't like kicking the can down the road, but I'll be honest with you, and that is that I think some people believe I don't like athletics. Nothing could be further from the truth, because at my last institution, I started them and had the athletic teams over at my house all the time. I love athletics, but the perception is that I don't like athletics. So I think it would be best that I recuse myself from decision-making about that. So that's why we want to have it ready when the new president comes in January.
Yeah, so I would just go back to, as my colleague did, the plain and unambiguous language in the legislation that the intent is to have Division II athletics reinstated on the campus over the course of the next 3 years. You seem to be leaving the door open to, although it will not be your decision, you'll no longer be here, but that somehow it will not be reinstated. So just so we're clear on that.
Nobody wanted to cut intercollegiate athletics. We did not have the money to continue athletics in our operating budget. And so we did cut athletics because it would have been a choice between athletics or potentially additional degree programs. Athletics are wonderful. Athletes are usually very good students. We love having them on campus. But first and foremost, we're an academic institution. And if it's a choice between intercollegiate and athletics and academics, I think the priority we were looking at was, first of all, the number of students who would be affected, because if we started getting into more degree programs, it would have been more students than we had in athletics, and it would have been another academic program, and did not want to do that.
But again, we're talking now about a pivot point where there is a separate bucket of money explicitly calling for Division II to be reinstated. From your standpoint, can you talk about any NCAA timelines you face that may add urgency or not to your decision-making plans for athletics?
I have not talked directly with the commissioner for CCA. That's the conference that we have been in, and that we're now, I'm not sure the right terminology, but we paid the dues to stay in it through the year. Initially, they wanted something by the fall, early in the fall. We told them about it, and they were aware of the $8 million from the legislature, and we asked them if we could follow the process that we had set up, and they said yes. So they're aware of our timeline of the fall.
Will you commit to a public timeline for making a definitive decision on athletics, including community and student input, before the decision is finalized?
I'm not going to be the one making the final decision.
Speaking on behalf of the university in your current role.
No, I won't. I won't do that because as I say, I don't like kicking the can down the road. I've tried not to do that at all while I've been here. I think I need to in this case, and I think whoever comes in new ought to have the opportunity and develop their own timeline for that. But I did think that what Dr. Schott recommended, which was giving the finalists an ongoing update about the discussions, is a good one, so they won't come in new to it. As I did when I became president of a new university 13 years ago and had to make that decision. So I think having information ahead of time will be important. But no, I can't commit for someone else.
That seems problematic because the new person won't be here till January.
Right.
At the earliest, yet we're being told and apparently agreeing to the fact that decisions need to be made by this fall.
No,
So
I'm sorry if I misspoke. What I had tried to say was they wanted a decision by fall, but we let them know about the process we were using and that we wouldn't know sometime early in the fall, that it would be December before a white paper was finished. And I think of the end of December and January 1st as being more or less the same thing because of the holidays. So I'm hoping you all, so you don't have to think about it over the holidays, will have it done by then. and it will be ready for the new president when the new president comes in. And hopefully it won't be new information. They will have been aware of it before.
Can you give us an update on the status of the presidential search timeline, what we can expect in the coming weeks and months?
All I know is really what is public, and that is that the search firm is in the midst of taking nominations and working on recruiting candidates now, that the search committee will be meeting in September and October, and that they anticipate having candidates for the Board of Trustees in November to have a new person come in with the start of the term in January. And actually, and I'm sorry I can't pronounce your last name, Dr. Gelawat, you may know because you're on the committee.
Well, in fact, and maybe to tee that up, I was going to ask, how are you engaging students, faculty, other key stakeholders? So would love some information on that.
I don't, because it's a search that is run. I'm not involved.
When I say you, I'm talking about the university.
The university doesn't either.
So, Professor, if you want to weigh in.
It's the Board of Trustees.
Yeah, I wish I, I wish I knew. You know, I was consulted by, or you know, the person that they've outsourced the search for millions of dollars, right? And I should note in passing that our academic senate, you know, at the behest of our faculty, created our own method to choose, you know, crazy idea of faculty have input on their own president, to choose our own president. And we did that. We had a successful candidate. And I actually informed the guy from the agency they've outsourced this official presidential search to about that. This was in late May, I think. And I signed all the confidentiality agreements. He said, okay, you know, generally here's the timeline. We're planning to come in the middle of summer to get input from the campus. I said, well, you realize it's the summer. No one's going to be there. If you really want meaningful input from the community broadly, you should come at the start of the semester. I never heard back from that person. And I, at his request, did forward all the information, the Senate resolution leading to the faculty selection for the next president, as well as the name and contact information of that candidate who was selected. Never even received a thank you acknowledged. So I'm completely in the dark on this.
Yeah, so from whatever appropriate leadership, I would like additional information after this hearing or in the near future, how students are being engaged, faculty, community in this process. I think you've heard that every forum we've had, and that would be greatly appreciated. And finally, on student impact and recruitment, President, if you can comment on what new recruitment strategies will be implemented to grow enrollment. That's kind of been a focal point at each forum. We've gone a long way down the road now, time-wise. What plan is emerging there?
There's not a silver bullet. It's like birdshot. Many different tactics to lead to more successful recruitment and enrollment than we've had in the past. One is a continuation of something that I shared with you at the second forum, which is our agreements with school districts and with community colleges. We had a couple of them at the last. We now have 11 guaranteed admissions completed. We have 3 that we are adding this summer, and we are pursuing 8 more that should be done this fall. And those are going to be really important. And Assemblywoman McGuire Curry, I'm happy to say that we've got Lake County in here because you've been a great advocate for Lake County on that. Those are really important because applying to the university can be daunting, I think, even for those who have PhDs, if you look at the applications that are required in California.
And I was actually going to ask you in particular about underrepresented groups of potential students. what in particular, in terms of strategies, are you pursuing there?
Well, the main strategy is actually these agreements with the school districts. And the school districts that are up there are ones that have quite diverse student populations, and where sometimes it's hardest for students to understand, first of all, that they can go to the university, and that while they may not be able to afford to go to the university, there is very generous, and we hope that continues. That's something we're watching on the national level with Pell Grants. But there are ways in which students can afford to go to college. So it takes really strong outreach and explanations to communities. We need to have, at the very least, bilingual, if not multilingual, recruiters working with students, and those are some of the ways in which we help to ensure that we have outreach to diverse populations. The other thing that I would add, and I alluded to earlier, is that our financial aid people, our enrollment people, our finance people are working on a package that we hope to roll out soon. Those of you who are familiar with Humboldt State, our good neighbor up to the north, I've talked with their president about a package that they've developed called the Green and the Gold that they've had some success with, and we are looking how we might do something similar. And so some of the funds that we received from the system for marketing and for recruitment will be used once we have the package that we can do and that can be sustainable. That's a word I use a lot, but we don't want to bring students in and then have their package go away. We have to be sure it's sustainable. You will see about it everywhere, and it will be called, let's just say in your honor, part of the SSU commitment. It's our SSU commitment to students. So those are some of the things that we are doing to help with recruitment. A lot of it's just legwork, a lot of legwork, and a lot of help from a lot of people. And I say legwork, I punched in finger work on my phone to several hundred presidential scholars this spring to try and recruit them here, and a lot of them came to the reception I had for them. It's that kind of personal contact that we have to have that I think will make the difference. It's having faculty reach out to students who want to be in their major. I've talked to students and I've talked to parents. The difference was when they could talk to somebody. So it is going to be a very proactive, personal, ongoing work to get the students here.
All right. I know we have a couple more questions. I'm going to ask that we move to, as Senator McGuire would say, our lightning round now, and that we all try to model Vanessa Mendoza in our responses as well, both our questions and our responses, and turn it next to our Assembly Majority Leader for a question.
I don't have a question, but I wanted to comment. I appreciate you.
All right. You really inspired her, Vanessa. Thank you so much. All right. And Senator McGuire.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Just a few items, and I will go quick down the line. On the UBAC process versus another process to be determined, Madam President, I think on that, and I'm just going to look at I'll call it the Sonoma State commitment versus the chancellor, just so we're distinguishing. So on that $9 million, I think you you'd referenced the UBAC process. Open, though, to looking at another committee process that would potentially be more all-encompassing to have that conversation on that discretionary pot.
I'm open to a discussion,
Yeah.
so I'll keep that brief.
Thank you so much on that. On the issue of the deferral, so deferral was paid, communication with NCAA, and I think the piece where I think all of us are on this is as we move forward deeper into the academic year, what are the signals and the concrete investments as we move forward? And I hear you, Madam President, your concern in regards to ongoing funding. We're very clear that we want to be able to see the restoration. So what are those investments that we're going to see? I understand that you're going to need to meet, but that's something I think we're all going to be looking at for the direction moving forward. That is in the budget language for the reimplementation. I think we all have some ideas and would love to be able to have a conversation about that, because I think it's going to be important that we follow through what's in the budget as directed through the Chancellor's office on that. On recruitment, I think that the university, the campus has done, is more aggressive than ever before, especially within your service area. Lake, Sonoma, Marin, Napa, going hard at those school districts, rightfully so, aggressively. And if you want to comment, 10, 15 years ago, there was also aggressive recruitment in the Southern California region, bringing Southern California students up to Northern California and Sonoma State. Do you want to comment a little bit about that? I think that there's some hope. Again, want to be very clear, appreciate and grateful for those. Once, we've never done this before. Y'all have never done this before in regards to having those partnerships, but looking beyond our service area and now looking to Southern California.
Okay, we are looking outside our service area, and not just in Southern California. We're looking at more in the Central Valley and so forth. The work that our people have done indicates that it's not the same game it was before COVID with potential students in Southern California. One thing that's going on is that all universities are recruiting really hard every place. It's a different world than it was before COVID, where we all had too many students. So a lot of people who weren't recruiting in Southern California, schools that are in Southern California, are recruiting a lot of students, especially in the LA Basin. That said, we're putting a real effort, we're concentrating in Orange County, and we have a recruiter that is down there all the time. One of the things that we're working with there, we quite serendipitously received a letter from a parent during all the budget discussions, very positive about Sonoma State. And his son, who was a freshman last year, was having a wonderful experience. He has volunteered, and we are taking him up on it, to meet with parents and to work with us to get as much as we can the pipeline going again from Orange County, because frankly, I don't think there's anything better as a recruiter than another parent. Talking with friends and neighbors and so forth about the university to get the ball rolling. So we aren't giving up on that. We're also looking more in other areas and doing more in other areas as well as Southern California.
Appreciate that. My last item is, and again, want to say thank you to the Chancellor's office on, and I know this is a new issue and just evolving here today, having a conversation about what was the former Bridge to the Future plan plus that 4.6 enrollment reallocation and where that will end up. And what I mean by that is that going to end up in a separate process? Is that going to end up in that $9 million discretionary fund that will be focused upon the greater campus community as directed within the budget language? That is an issue I think we will need to be able to flesh out, and obviously we'll work with Vice Chancellor Linz on that as well, about where that all lands and how that is rolled out. And Mr. Vice Chancellor, I don't know if that's anything that you want to comment on at all at this time, or it's something that we'd love to follow up on with that issue. Okay, because I think that's also going to be important, as what the professor had mentioned in regards to, are there areas, and I'm paraphrasing, Professor, are there areas that are going to be reinstated? And then I think we just need to know what the total amount is so that we know, number one, if it's going to go into a program, does it go into a program to be able to sustain it for, I'm making this up, 3 years as we look to grow enrollment? Is it going to go to one time for 1 year? That's, I think, what we need to be able to work through, and I know that's your commitment, and I think the professor, where I think you were going, and please, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but we need to be able to determine how much, where it's going to go, what that process is, and then how that's going to be invested, if that's a 1 year commitment, if that's a 3 year commitment, because it's going to take some time, candidly, to catch up. And I'll catch the eye, Vice Chancellor Linz. I think we're 3 years into the transition from Humboldt State to Cal Poly Humboldt. I think they're seeing for the first time a 5% bump this year in enrollment. So I think we should all expect that this is not going to be a transition that is going to bring students in overnight. It's going to take some time to be able to grow, and what we're going to need to be able to fund, if it's 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, et cetera, and whatever those priorities are. I'll go to Madam President, and then Professor, feel free to chime in on that, please. And thank you all for being here. Madam President, on that issue.
On the issue of the $4.6 million.
I think that just on the process, right? I think what needs to be decided is it going to be a 1 year, so I'm making this up. If it's going to go into major X that potentially was eliminated, not only is the discussion have to be, we're going to fund whatever that major, that program was, but if we're serious about it, we may have to fund it more than just one academic year,
right,
to allow enrollment to be able to catch up, to see dollars coming in, to look at something that's more sustainable.
Correct. And I don't know what the $4.6 million is, whether it's one-time dollars or whether it is ongoing, and that makes a difference in how we use it. Both pots of money from the Chancellor's office and from the state, we could have the same process, but my understanding is we are not going to intermingle those funds. We really want to hold, and I'm looking at the Vice Chancellor here, we intend to hold the $45 million separate so that we have a very clear indication, accounting of where those funds go. But that doesn't mean the process can't and shouldn't be the same thing.
I think it's just something, as this is an evolving issue, just being really honest about this, and incredibly grateful that we're able to come into today and say not only is it the 45, but the additional 45. And not at all trying to be squishy or coy, but it's just something that we're going to need to be able to work through, and that's a commitment, obviously, that we have, and very great. It's a good problem to have, to start determining how that's going to look, roll out, and implemented. So, but Professor, please.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I have to say, just generally, I don't sense any alacrity from this administration, the kind of attention that you have given to this, or that faculty have been giving this whole past spring. Through the Senate. You know, what was just mentioned in response to Assemblyman Connolly's question about, you know, what would it take, which I think is related to your question, to bring back these programs that have been shuttered. And the response was, we need to talk to WGS to see if they could come back. Well, my question is, why weren't you having those conversations in the summer? Why haven't we already been having those, initiating those important conversations? Now it's too late. And to me, again, this is an example of the bad faith, right? That, well, gee, now I can't have that conversation, so I guess whether it be sports or faculty or departments that we need to bring back that make this institution what it is, well, I guess we can't do that. By the way, I'm leaving in a couple months, so I don't care. And I'm sorry, but this is something that has been stated publicly in our newspapers, right? I'm not taking responsibility. Well, I'm taking responsibility. I think you're taking responsibility. We care, not only in the short term, right, but in the long term, to make this a thriving institution. And the way to do that is starting immediately. Like, this is a crisis. I've never seen, I mean, the kind of funding that's coming in is unprecedented because it's matching a crisis that's unprecedented. And that has to be matched in turn with a commitment that is unprecedented, in which, unfortunately, again, we haven't seen from this administration.
I'll just wrap up here. No, thank you so much, Professor. Look, I think the bottom line is this, and firmly believe that we're going to get there. We are coming off of, I think, the most challenging year that this university has seen in its history. I also know that we're going to get it right. Are we going to make some mistakes along the way? You betcha we're going to have some bumps. All eyes are on these funds to ensure that they're going to be utilized correctly to the best of its ability. And now today we're able to grow those dollars off of the commitment by the Chancellor's Office. That creates a whole other dynamic, I might add, that Mr. Lenz is going to need to be able to deal with, and truly appreciate the stretch there. So I think our bottom line is this, and working obviously with all sides, which is why we wanted to have each of you here. This process is going to have to be transparent. I think we got to get everybody back here next week. We got to get everybody in the room. I think we need to determine, is there going to be JBAC? Is there going to be potentially a different process or adding to the JBAC? I think that's a decision in the conversation that is going to be had on the campus. And then once that's had, what does this look like longer term on if there's going to be restoration? Is it a 1 year? Do you take some of these funds? Again, I'm paraphrasing here and hypothetical, whatever that $9 million is, if you need $5 million over 3 years, right, you dedicate that if that's a priority, whatever that may be. And I think that's just something we're going to need to be able to work through, and we're absolutely committed to this campus community to be able to see it through. We are too deep in this to be able to turn our backs, and I just hope you all see all sides are ready to roll up sleeves and make this thing happen. And just very, very grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you. Please, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I don't have any questions myself for the panel. I'm worried because, and understandably, kind of where we're at in some ways around this. I was originally excited to hear that some of the tenured and tenure track faculty and departments were being invited back to other departments where they were interested, presumably as part of the $9 million that can include some funding restorations. While at the same time, I'm absolutely insistent that the language of that part of the budget, which is that this money will be done in consultation with faculty, students, and community stakeholders, be adhered to. And this is a fundamental problem for all of us, which is that we are demanding, I want to know the timeline, I want to know exactly what's going to happen and by when, and I want it to be exactly the things that I want, and also I want it to be a fully transparent, participatory process that aligns with the core values of shared governance. And both things, especially in the summer, cannot be accomplished together. That's simply a fact. And so with all due respect to everybody that's involved in this process, we're going to have to pick. Do we want an outcome that we want, or do we want the process? I want the process. I want what the budget language says, is that these decisions will be made in consultation, because it's not so obvious. There isn't enough money in the $9 million of one, and because it's one time, it isn't enough to simply declare everything that was cut needs to come back. That's not what this money is not sufficient for that. It wasn't the intention in these resources. These resources were committed because at these hearings, the commitment was made by every part of the campus that we will give us the breathing room and the resources we need to invest in order to pivot into the future. And so some funding restorations are part of the $9 million, but it is in no way an automatic, let's just pretend 2025 didn't happen. Because next year will not be this way. Next year will be worse. The only thing that we know, when Senator McGuire, thanks to term limits, leaves the legislature, the only thing that we know is that his successor is not going to be from Sonoma. It's not going to be me. We already know. We already took the vote. So they will not be from. There will not be $45 million next year. Maybe we'll get something, but we will not get Mike McGuire money in next year's and in the next budget. And so we need to understand that this is both a massive infusion and it is extraordinary in the most extreme version of what those words mean. But also next year, as the HR1 crap rolls downhill and threats to accreditation, to Pell Grants and the entire mechanism of financial aid and everything else, and certainly what we'll be dealing with respect to the closure of half the rural hospitals and elimination of medical, we will not be in a position to be able to grapple with this in a better way next year. So we are at a point where, for a lot of reasons, and we've all said this before, and we've heard it as well, the campus did not handle this in a way that promoted trust or collaboration or shared governance along the way. That is largely uncontested, and that is the case. And everything is still raw for reasons that are absolutely understandable. But it will not get easier a year from now. And these resources are not here for the purpose of delaying everything for a year or turning the clock back. They are here for the purpose of Sonoma State writing its own future. And would it be better not during a presidential search and transition? Yes. We don't have that as an option. And so I say this because I don't intend to be here weekly mediating every dispute. Partly because I represent a few other campuses too, but also, and because as a strong believer in academic freedom, I don't want Texas, Florida, or California legislators trying to run institutions of higher education on a day-to-day basis. That's not good for education. It's not good for our democracy for that to be the case. But also because the only way to rebuild trust, the only way to strengthen shared governance is to do it again. Is to engage in it again, and for these discussions to happen here, and not with the expectation, well, if we don't get what we want or people don't listen to us, that the legislature will be back here on Thursday. We can bring that up again, and so we are not turning our backs. Obviously, our reputations are also on the line, and the futures of our constituents and our people are on the line. We've banked everything on Sonoma State being able to make this happen and being able to deliver. So we're absolutely here to walk alongside you, but not in front of you, and not like right behind you over your shoulder. Maybe applauding in the back, a little nudge, a little help, everywhere that we can, but not to micromanage this campus or to take the place of shared governance, which is what is absolutely essential for the campus to be. Everything that you all told us that you believe it can be again. And so, as I say, I have no questions, but really hope that we take seriously the spirit of what is behind these investments, and that we make them real. Just the only one thing I will note is that if we don't restore Division II NCAA athletics, which is what the plain language of the budget is, Vice Chancellor Lenz better not send the state an invoice for that money, because that's all that money is for. It's specifically allocated for that purpose. It's not for club sports or some other alternative because it's the best we could do. It is for that, and so somebody would ask for an audit, of course, if the money was taken and not spent for that purpose. So on that particular piece, let's pay attention to that. But as we look at the total, our job now is to make sure that the budget is executed in the way that's been drawn up, that the money is spent the way that we said, But in the bottom line is to do what we promised you would do, which was us helping you to be able to lead this campus into the future in the best way that makes sense for Sonoma State and for the region. So with that, let me say thank you to the lively, passionate, committed panel, and we're looking forward to continuing to walk this with you. And now we're going to turn it to public comment, and to lead that effort as part of our conversation is our co-chair, Assemblymember Damon Connolly.
Thank you, the main event. Before that, why don't we again acknowledge our great panel, who I think we can dismiss from having to sit up here. Thank you again, everyone. I noted that Cotati Council member Sylvia Lemus joined us. Welcome, Sylvia. Thank you. You've been here to every meeting as well. So why don't we have 2 mics at the front of the room. If folks can line up on either side. Given the hour, we'll limit comments to about a minute each, if you can abide by that. And we'll alternate sides, starting with the left, my left. Welcome.
Stefan Kiesbü, English. Thank you. Thank you very much. This has really a bit restored my belief in local action, and that local action can actually have an impact. So that's really fantastic. But I am really worried about where this whole thing going. We have an interim president who's not really committed to make any decisions. I think she has been sitting on her hands ever since the 45 million were announced. We were promised once a big marketing plan, a big marketing campaign, great recruiting. We still haven't seen even the beginning of that. I'm still waiting to turn on our local radio station and see, hear actually an advertisement for Sonoma State. And so I feel really we are wasting a lot of time with an interim president. We need to make a lot of decisions right now, and we don't have the person to do that. Thank you.
Good evening. First, I want to say that I'm not a member of the faculty. I'm not a student. I don't have any connection with the school except that I'm a concerned citizen. And I want to thank you tremendously for the amount of support that you've shown to Sonoma State, especially the Sonoma State Commitment Initiative, which includes the $45 million. And part of that was pointed out by Senator Cowell earlier, and Senator McGuire, is the $2 million for environmental sciences and to restore the geology program. And I heard the interim president mention, the geology program. I want to make it clear, however, that the actions of the administration are not consistent with those goals. Of the 3 faculty members in the department, only 1 has been reassigned to the new department. The other 2 have been laid off. That leaves nothing for continuing any geology program at all. That means that there will be no more geology majors. That means that there will be no geologists coming out for licensure or anything else for the region. At the previous forums, we heard both private sector and local and state agencies say that they depend on SSU geology program to supply professionals for the health, the safety, and the welfare of the people of California. And it is my hope that the geology program will be allowed to continue in this vital role. And I heard from, we heard from Assemblymember Rogers about, that this whole program or the whole meeting is about, the implementation of the program. And I agree very much, but, from what I've seen from, the actions of the administration, I have no confidence whatsoever and, unfortunately, no trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go back to the left.
Hi, Julie Hollers. I am a parent of a now sophomore. I'm a retired veteran, full-time farmer. I convinced my daughter to stay because I had the impression that geology would be restored, and I think that was a false narrative. It was like a phishing scheme. Keep them here, don't tell them everything's going on, because now I'm regretting making her stay. I know, I apologize. So with that being said, I believe interim president was put here to make cuts. She wasn't here to follow through with the stuff, and that's where we see this disconnect, because nothing's being done. Like I said, she's a sophomore, she's a double major, a lot of emphasis on recruiting, but what about these students that are here? There's nothing on helping these ones that have been through this, that still have 3 years, 2 years, 1 year. I don't hear that. I hear about people coming in. So my concern is we're going to drag this on until December. She now found out now that geology isn't going to happen, and so she's going to pick a major that she doesn't necessarily want to be in, or she transfers. So thank you very much.
Thank you to the legislators for being here and for the funds that you've designated for SSU. My name's Emily Clark, and I'm a faculty member in the Spanish program. I want to make the point that the way to increase enrollment is not just to build out popular programs, particularly since there are many students who don't intend to major in those areas, but also to ensure that we have a fully functioning university. We need to restore CUT programs to be competitive, as other universities offer a wide range of classes in multiple languages, philosophy, theater, art history, geology, women, gender studies, and other areas that have suffered cuts. Not having those programs or dramatically limiting them makes our university less attractive to students because we won't have a full range of course offerings, and thus they might choose to go elsewhere to have access to those classes, whether or not they intend to major in those subjects. Furthermore, if these academic disciplines are cut, other departments will not just be able to effectively start teaching courses in those areas, because we would still need the faculty with those areas of expertise. So I'm asking the university to please restore CUT programs and faculty and give our students access to study these core subjects. Thank you.
Hi there, Owen Ampeson, Department of Geology. During the first town hall, I called on you all, in particular you, Senator McGuire, to help us find the money to save our campus. You did exactly that. And I am one of the lucky faculty that have already been reinstated and reinside. My family, including my 1-month-old son, thank you. You saved my job and possibly my career. Meanwhile, our geology department didn't just sit on our hands waiting. We went out and found a contract ready to sign for $2 million over the next 3 years to help geologically map the North Feather River area near the Oroville Dam and help the Department of Water Resources keep California's dams and water supply safe. This will train our students to be competent earth science and establish a long-term partnership to help us fund geology at SSU. However, that contract requires a geology department or earth and environmental science department to make good on that contract. We can't sign that contract because the geology major in our program is still being eliminated, despite being called by name by SSU commitment, the president's email, and even today by Senator Caldoman. Okay. We have put forward a forward-thinking proposal for our administration to develop a Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences. This targets high-demand fields of sustainability, renewable energy and resources, earth science, climate change, yet still provides a path to train professional geologists that are needed to keep construction moving forward and to keep people safe in the North Bay. I now call on you, our legislators, to ask our administration to make good on those commitments and help us become a nationwide leader in earth and environmental science. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Megan Eisen. I am a graduate of Sonoma State's Women and Gender Studies program and a member of the Save WGS Coalition. I want to thank you all for your funding, and I want to also particularly thank Assemblymember Rogers for continuing to advocate for WGS and everyone else here who keeps bringing up WGS. I had prepared a statement, but I just wanted to focus on a couple of things. One is I feel like Emily's decision to go stand at the back of the room is a representation of her commitment to hearing and really taking in community feedback, and a really indicative of the leadership that has been over the past 6 months that has decimated the trust between SSU and the community. One other thing that I would like to point out too is that when Assemblymember Rogers was talking to Emily about about what's going on with the program, she said that she didn't know that she needed to have a conversation with WGS. The UBAC, the WGS department, along with stakeholders, submitted a plan. There is a very clear plan. Also, WGS was always a financially solvent department. It brought in more money than it cost to run. So there's no reason for WGS not to have been reinstated, because it was already a program that shouldn't have been cut in the first place. And just want to mark that. And, you know, I know you all are talking about not wanting to overreach, but there is a really there's a really big gap here in what is being said. It's either lies or incompetence, and I'm not sure which one it is, but there needs to be accountability, which you all talked about, and there hasn't been any yet. And so just really wanting you all to help work with us, because you all have we have been working together, but the administration isn't committing, hasn't committed. So, thank you.
We had a growing, thriving, innovative philosophy department here with a world-class professor of AI ethics. We need that now more than ever. The faculty made crystal clear that they do not want to go forward without dance and philosophy and theater and art history. And you heard there is no shared governance. You heard President Cottrell have the audacity to say before you, oh, it's summertime, so we don't know what the faculty thinks, like it's a 3-month period of I get to ignore the faculty. That's what we're up against. You've seen it with your own eyes. You pay her to not do her job. If you write her job into law, she still does not do it. And if they send us another president like that, we're dead, no matter how much money you send. You have the ability to dissolve the Board of Trustees and replace it with people who are as committed to higher education as you are. It shouldn't come to that, but I'm really worried. Thank you.
Thank you, legislators, for securing $45 million for Sonoma State's future. My name is Leanna Hartmore. I'm a Women's and Gender Studies alumna and board president of Verity, Sonoma County's Sexual Assault Prevention, Intervention, and Healing Center. While this funding has the potential to turn around the trajectory of SSU, we must address a critical failure, the lack of a specific earmark to save the Women's and Gender Studies department. This decision fails to protect Sonoma State's most marginalized students and, by extension, our most vulnerable county residents. WGS has a decades-long partnership with local nonprofits like Verity, who rely on the department to prepare students to serve and uplift our communities, and the loss of WGS is deeply felt by our organizations and the people we serve. This department was recognized as an immediate funding need, and now the money is here. And the proposal by the department clearly lays out how it's a sustainable department and what the department's going to do to bring in even more students. It's laid out in that proposal that was recognized as an immediate funding need. It's not too late to do what's right for the campus and the county. We at Verity urge you to reinstate the Women's and Gender Studies department.
Hi, my name is Finn Hutchison. I was here last time. Good to see you guys. I'm not good at math, but this is my last year, and I have 11 more units to complete of an upper division art history course. And currently there are 4 available, 3 of which are upper division, and 1 of those is just a 1 unit. I'm only able to take 1 of those classes, so I am only able to take 3 units of upper division art history by the 1 professor that was left here. I think that I'm probably not going to be able to graduate on time, which means I'm either going to need to spend another year's worth of tuition here, or I'm going to need to transfer and spend another 2 years of education somewhere else. I don't have the money to do that. I'm 23 and I have a minimum wage job. I don't have the time to take another online course. I don't have the time to take 2 more years of education at a place that clearly doesn't want to teach me. I want to learn an art that does not pay me well. I'm obviously here for the education. I'm not here for the money, and they don't care about that anymore. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Maureen
And
Lochran.
if I can just interrupt for 1 sec. So we have a hard stop at 5. You guys are doing great. If folks who want to speak, though, can make sure you're in line, that would be great. Go ahead.
Thanks. My name is Maureen Lochran. I work for the California Faculty Association here at Sonoma State, and we're the union that represents the faculty, the coaches, the counselors, the librarians, and we thank you so much for your investment in this place. It's been an extremely hard semester on everyone. When we saw those layoff announcements in January, it's been a fight. And our fight and our goal all along as a union has been to preserve those departments, save them from elimination, and save all the jobs, save the coaches and athletics. Those are all folks we care deeply about. So we were so heartened to see the investment, and then just devastated when we saw the announcement from Emily Couture that it just didn't matter. It seemed like looking at gift horse of the mouth, saying it's a one-time funds. It's always one-time funds every year when we get money from the legislature. I wanted to just correct one thing that was an assumption made up here about the reassignments. And again, there's only been a handful of reassignments of those tenured faculty who have been laid off. Diane Guido sitting here in the room. We've been in conversation in the union meet and confers. All of the reassignments done to date, as we were told in those meetings, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Diane, were done because of internal savings that had been identified already, like from retirements and other things within the system. So all of the cuts, going to 0 from 8%, the extra investments, that's all new money that can provide more reassignments. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vera. I've been here a few times as well. I'm a recent alumni of Sonoma State, and I received an amazing education. I'm confident in how bright my future looks, and thanks for the opportunities of leadership experience here on campus, I had a strong community. I was awarded a Bachelor of Arts with a double major in 2 programs that are now discontinued through an email the second day of my senior spring semester. Women and Gender Studies centralizes the importance of critical thinking. The department allows students to feel seen and represented. It chooses to teach histories that are overlooked and marginalized. The Women and Gender Studies department works extremely close with the students, so they graduate with their required 120 hours of internship service. That is how you build a bright future on campus with students who feel secured in an intimidating job market. As an alumni, I can attest that Women and Gender Studies provides an amazing education, secures bright futures, and builds a strong community of representation. In order to ensure a successful Sonoma State commitment, we must reinstate the Department of Women and Gender Studies. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I am Tim Wanley from the Department of English. I've had a chance to meet with some of you and also with President Couture this summer. And I want to say here publicly what I've said privately, which is I thank you for your love and support for this campus. And we are all in a recruiting mission right now, and one thing we need is hope. And to get that hope, I'm going to echo the calls that I'm hearing in this room for the immediate restoration of geology and women's and gender studies. Those programs were selected by the UBAC process, which is a budget committee, to say if money comes back, these are the priorities. All of those other priorities got money from the $45 million, if you look at the way that lines up, including geology got a little. So I'm just here to publicly say, let's get this ball rolling back in a sense of hope by restoring those 2 programs. I voted all of the canceled programs as 10s. I didn't follow the rules. But that committee, which was a mix of students and faculty and staff, looked at the rubric, which was based upon the Bridge to the Future, and said WGS and geology are already doing those things, connecting to the community, building economic pipelines, and so on and so forth. Great innovations. So I'm not here to advocate for English. I'm here to advocate. I was a member of the UBAC process. And I think, though I've told President Couture this, I've urged, I don't think anybody would be disappointed if those 2 programs were immediately restored. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Steemack, and I just want to say, well, I get a little emotional. Our hearts were broken in January. You heard us. You gave us hope. You came and listened, and you're still helping us. And it means the world. I hope you really know that. It's like the first time I felt like maybe it's going to be okay is when you guys came. And things you said too, I appreciate it. So thank you for your kindness, and keep it coming. And on the other things, we don't have the worst health care here. I'm a registered nurse since 1976. Great nurses come out of this facility, and the other programs, we're working on it, and even greater will be coming. Thank you for your kindness.
Hi, I'm Dr. Elizabeth Birch. I'm in the Communication Studies program, and I'm very, very grateful that you have been here all this way. I wanted to say, of course, that the faculty are very angry about the process. Obviously, you're aware of that at this point, and so we're saying it out loud so that others can hear that we must be included in the process. Just to take a perspective that bringing in medical, programs for medicine, etc. Here's medicine. Your daughter is out. The phone rings. It's a policeman on the other end. You've been told that she has been sexually assaulted. She's okay, but they haven't caught the man. She comes home, she cries, she says, "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have been wearing what I was wearing. I wasn't paying attention. I had the headphones on. I spaced out. I'm so sorry. I won't do it again." You don't know what to do, and you look it up, and you find a place called Verity. And who's working there? Many of the students from Women and Gender Studies. It saves her life. That's medical. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Keen Carlson. I'm a lecturer formerly in the geology department and now in the Department of Geography, Environment, and Planning. I want to echo the sentiments of everyone else who's come before me and say thank you for this funding, not just the first $45 million, but the additional $45 million. That was an awesome surprise to hear about today. The classes that I mostly teach in the geology department are big classes, intro GE level classes, where students learn about the geologic hazards that face them. We live on an active tectonic plate boundary. Students who I have had have come up to me at the end of the semester and told me that they are now aware of earthquake hazards, landslide hazards, atmospheric hazards that they didn't know about before. And so, kind of along the same lines as the person who spoke before, the knowledge they learn in these classes, even if they don't go on to be geology majors or geologists, could save their lives. And so I just want to echo the importance of the continuance of the geology program here at Sonoma State. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Robertson, and I am the chair of the former art history department. And I haven't, first of all, thank you, like everyone said, thank you so much for being here, for all of your support. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to come to any of these in person before, so I'm finally able to actually say hello and introduce myself. There's a lot of things I could say about my fantastic art history majors and minors. Just really briefly, they do go on to get great jobs, as you know, throughout the area. There's all kinds of art venues, so they go on and certainly work in the area. But something else I wanted to raise that I don't think has really been brought up, and that is also considering what the university already has. So we have an art department. Art and art history go together. Art majors are art history minors, sometimes they're double majors. Art history also has a museum and gallery studies minor. We have a fantastic gallery on campus, and our students get experience by working at that gallery. Our studio art students also take that minor and get the first-hand experience of working in a gallery, managing objects, and then are prepared to go on and do all kinds of different jobs. So Anyway, I just wanted to raise that because we're down to just one, so I am one of the few people who did get their position back, so I will continue to teach at least a little bit of art history, but with just one other faculty member in art history, we could again have a minor, we could have a major, or we could be, we could be serving so many students in so many different ways. Also, most students don't even know what art history is when they come to Sonoma State or go to university anywhere, and so when they come and take my GE classes, they go, oh, okay, now I know what I want to do. So it's not a big major, but it really does have a big impact. So yeah, and we have art and we have a great gallery. So anyway, thank you.
Dimitri Nicholson, I'm an English master's student. And first off, I want to thank the legislature for their tireless effort. That $45 million, also gained from the CSU, an additional $45 million. That's a lot of money, and that is clearly, like it's been said, a response to a crisis situation. That's where we're in. And I'm probably not the only one here who's felt that is kind of jarring to have that kind of good news, and then hearing just what we might have heard in the last ones, where just the faculty and the students are so upset and don't have any confidence in the administration. And that is because more than a money issue, this has been an administration issue. It's been an issue of choice, and it's been an issue of lack of involvement with the community, with the faculty. This is why we're hearing the faculty say the same things each time, and the administration is saying, again, the same things. So it's just a thing I want to put out there for everyone that, like, while this money is great and necessary, we want to look beyond just like, okay, is this sustainable? Is this, is this where it needs to go? We want to make sure that this is something that genuinely includes faculty and students, because that is what makes this university what it is, and frankly, any university what it should be. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Patrick. I want to start by saying that I'm deeply grateful for all that you guys have done to secure the funding for our school, but I still have to say that I am deeply concerned, because our administration has promised initially that upon receiving this funding that we would get our programs back, that restorations were, like, the reason we had the cuts in the first place is because there's no money. Now that there is money, my departments get fuck all. The English MA is gone, the philosophy undergraduate department is gone, WGS is gone, everything. And so I feel like as long as this administration, and I don't just mean President Couture, I mean everyone, the Chancellor, the Board of Trustees, everyone who had a say in this, as long as they're involved, you may as well take all this money that you fought hard for and piss it down the toilet. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Mulder. I used to teach philosophy here, and I'm going to try to be the shortest speaker of the day. First, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your commitment has been very heartening to me. Second, I'd like to point out nursing students need to, and probably a lot of them want to, learn something about philosophy. Data scientists need to, probably want to learn about philosophy. And I could say the same for all the other departments that are being eliminated. And then a special word for WGS today, Women and Gender Studies, sending out students to work in places like Verite and other support. Given today's headline in the Press-Democrat, I don't know if you saw, court records show Marie Bonici alleged her ex-partner, Deputy Jeremy Lyle, had a history of abuse weeks before he fatally shot her last night and then killed himself this morning. That's in the Press-Democrat. So we want to graduate students who don't just contribute to the great economic engine of this country, but serve people. Thank you.
So hello everyone, my name is Michael Iden. I'm the testing coordinator here for Disability Services for Students, and I just wanted to share a couple quick things. First and foremost, regarding the piece about not a lot happening over the summer, there's actually a ton happening over the summer, because what's just as important as recruitment is retainment. And so myself and the other advisors spend all summer, June and July, retaining students by doing tabling, doing orientation, and being able to secure them into those services, as well as when we continue to see them throughout the year to manage the multiple needs that they have. The disability population I work with is 12% of the campus, 650 students. And we lost an advisor the week before registration for getting those in there, bringing us down to a total of 2.5 advisors, with each of us having an additional role besides advising, as advising is not the main thing that we do. So our team does our best, but we need support in helping the staff, being able to help retain those students in that way as well. And I'll share one final story of a student I met during orientation who's very scared and nervous and walked out of the registration lab with 0 classes. Well, thankfully, someone who was tabling was able to flag her down, and I was able to meet with her and her dad individually to register, change her major, and register for the classes that she needed. That student, I can assure you, would not be here this fall had that team effort not happened. So retainment is just as important as recruitment. Thank you all for your listening and your time.
Hi, I'm Kasia Tria, and I'm an alumni from Sonoma State, but I'm also old staff member. I used to do payroll. So part of what I want to say is that during the summer, all the staff are here. We're here. We're here keeping the lights on, vacuuming, cleaning, letting this place be kept together during the summer. We're the third leg on the 3-legged stool. You cannot have students, faculty, and staff run a university without one of those 3. Okay? So just want to say that real quick. The other thing I want to say is that the years that I've been in the university, both as a student and as a staff member, I have seen an issue with the prioritizing of funds. I have not seen a budget issue. I've seen a priority issue. You guys have made us a priority. We all know we're a priority. We want this campus to be successful. We can't be here without that here, right? So, priority issue is with the CO in funding and budgeting for what needs to happen at each of the campuses. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margaret Anderson, and I'm an alumni and a faculty 29 years lecturer in the Hutchins School of Liberal Studies. And what I wanted to say is I would like to show you 1 million emojis right now. I'd like to share the joy, the happiness, the excitement, the hope for the future, but then there's just a disparaging distrust and disconnect. And you all know these emojis, so I don't need to share, but so how do I choose the few words? The few words are, then let's sit in a circle with all of us. I know you have to go and do your other work, and we do want to share the power of making decisions with extremely different points of view in a democracy and a campus with diversity. But I don't believe it's going to happen. What? That's not a good emoji. I don't know what then is, where are we stuck? I feel too old to not know what then is the log jam here. What's stopping us from restoring if we have the funding? I still feel like at 60 years old, a supposedly educated person, I haven't heard the answers. And I don't necessarily believe is not right. I believe in you. I believe in the next conversation, the next great person that I could talk to in the great book. Something is cracked in this campus, in this system. We know it. And yet I keep thinking it's going to keep going. What do I tell students? How do I continue to have a conversation where I believe, whatever reason, we have a president who just doesn't fit? You probably know it. I kind of feel sorry for you, to tell you the truth. Because what a cruel thing to come here and not be able to help us. You know, and that's not, I'm really sincere. It's because it's a we need to do this. Faculty need voice, staff. We need to fix this democracy. And now I sound like a showboat. Our campus, let's be a model for that. Let's not have tiny little groups of people making those decisions. Let's have a participatory democracy. And so I am stuck, and I want to leave feeling that there's going to be an answer to why some faculty and programs and departments aren't being reestablished now, today. That would be the surprise. I would skip out of here. I would dance all night long. So please, can't we get that unstuck? A few of these things so that we do believe? And then let's set up that system that I thought we had in the democracy where we are actually actively trying to decide for ourselves what we want to do next steps. It cannot just be the too few people. I thought that was the whole point of this country. And I think this campus should be doing that. I trust you, Ajay, because he is a speaker and he will say what he needs, and he's polite and he's articulate, and now I've talked too long. All I want to say is let's take back the university. Let's have more participatory involvement, please.
Thank you so much to all the speakers. Thank you for everyone coming. It looks like we're right on time. I want to turn it over to my colleague to close us on it. Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, again. I think we've heard you loud and clear. I think there's a lot to celebrate today, yet there is also a renewed commitment necessary to transparency, to accountability, to working with each other, having each other's back as we start up a new year next week. Let's keep working together, and thank you again for allowing us to be part of this process as well. So thank you, everyone.